Traditions are sacred, especially the warning never to let a child fall from its mother's back. Ngozi, a young mother, dismisses the old ways, brushing of her mother's constant reminders. Ngozi's life takes a dark and unexpected turn soon after, but when her baby, Adiora, slips from her back at the village market, Adiora becomes strangely silent, and the once cheerful child begins to fade. Desperate to save her daughter, Ngozi must confront the ancient spirits on the mysterious, sacred hill. Once upon a time, in a peaceful village of AfricanCulture, there was a long-standing tradition passed down from generation to generation. A mother must never let her baby fall from her back. The elders often said that when a child falls, the ancestors weep, and a door to misfortune opens. Mothers were careful, always tying their babies tightly and carrying them with utmost care, but Ngozi, a young and confident woman, didn't believe in these stories. She had grown up in the city, away from the village's old ways. She returned to AfricanCulture to raise her daughter, Adiora, after her husband passed away. Ngozi loved her daughter dearly, but she didn't think much of the village traditions. Her mother, Mama Amaka, constantly reminded her, "Tie Adiora well, my daughter. Don't let her fall. The ancestors are watching." But Ngozi would laugh and brush it off. "Mama, times have changed. Those are just stories from long ago. Nothing will happen if she falls." One fateful day, Ngozi went to the village market, carrying Adiora loosely tied to her back. The market was bustling with activity, vendors shouting and people chatting. As Ngozi moved from stall to stall, buying food and chatting, Ngozi didn't notice the loose knot in the cloth. As she bent down to pick up some yams, Adiora slipped from her back and hit the ground. The baby cried out, but Ngozi quickly scooped her up, apologizing to the villagers who looked on in shock. "You should be more careful," one of the older women in the market warned. "The ancestors don't take kindly to this." But Ngozi waved it off, embarrassed. "It was just a small fall. She's fine, nothing will happen." However, that night, things took a strange turn. Adiora, who had been a cheerful and healthy baby, suddenly became quiet. She refused to eat, and when she tried to cry, no sound came out. Her eyes, usually full of life, became dull and distant. Ngozi grew worried. She rushed to her mother's house, cradling the silent child in her arms. "Mama, something is wrong with Adiora. She's not crying. She's not even moving." Mama and Keisha's face fall when she saw the child. She knew immediately what had happened. "You let her fall, didn't you?" Ngozi's heart raced. "It was an accident, Mama. She only fell for a moment. She's fine." But Mama and Keisha shook her head. "No, my daughter." As she examined the baby, she said, "The ancestors have taken her voice. They are punishing you for not respecting the tradition." Tears welled up in Ngozi's eyes. "What can I do? How can I make it right?" "There is only one way," Mama Anki said gravely. "You must take her to the sacred hill, where the spirits dwell. You must beg the ancestors to forgive you and return your daughter's spirit." Without hesitation, Ngozi wrapped Adiora tightly in a cloth and made her way to the sacred hill. The journey was long and filled with fear, but she was determined to save her child. As she climbed the steep hill, the wind howled through the trees, and strange shadows flickered around her. At the top of the hill, Ngozi knelt before the ancient stone shrine and cried out, "Ancestors, I beg you, please forgive me. I did not know. I have disrespected your ways. But please return my daughter's voice and back to me." For a long time, there was only silence. Then, a soft whisper filled the air. "You did not heed the warnings. The child's soul is now in our hands." Ngozi's heart sank. "No, please. I will do anything. Just give her back to me." The wind blew colder, and the spirits seemed to speak as one. A mother's care must never be neglected. A price must be paid. Suddenly, Adiora began to stir in Ngozi's arms. Her eyes fluttered open, and for the first time in days, she cried out a loud, piercing wail. Relief washed over Ngozi. But as she stood to leave the shrine, she felt a strange weakness in her body. The ancestors had returned Adiora's voice, but they had taken something from Ngozi in exchange. Slowly, she realized that she could no longer move her legs. The price for her mistake was her ability to walk. When she returned to the village, carried by the kind villagers who found her on the hill, Ngozi's story spread like wildfire. Mothers, young and old, learned from her tragedy. They tied their babies tighter and remembered the words of their elders. Never let a child fall from your back. From that day on, Ngozi lived in the village, her legs paralyzed, But her heart full of gratitude that her daughter had been spared, she became a living reminder of the dangers of ignoring the wisdom of the past. Moral lesson: the traditions passed down by elders hold deep wisdom. Sometimes, when we ignore them, the consequences are far greater than we could ever imagine. The end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more.